It is that most wonderful time of the year again where Christmas chaos is in full swing. Yes, hello, I'm Lee and I'm a little bit of a Grinch, or a lot of a Grinch depending on who you ask. But as part of my own personal Christmas chaos this year, I'm going to be making virtually all of my Christmas presents. And I thought, for some of them at least, we could make them together here on this channel. The first cab off the rank is going to be a present for my sister. I am going to make her own little wolf character, who is the companion to someone all of you may recognise. My Yarnivore. She's usually hanging out in the background over here, but I had to kick her out temporarily to make room for the Christmas gang. Speaking of the Christmas gang, I forgot to put my Christmas lights on. So I'll be making a companion to this girl here. My sister's character is a little wolf. She looks like this. And in order to make her, I'm going to be using both this pattern. Oh, that was close. I almost dropped her. This pattern, but also the puppy pattern I made a couple of months ago as a sort of foundation. That's one of the really good things about like making or designing your own patterns, that sometimes you can use those patterns as a leaping off point for other patterns, which is what I'm going to do today. So as always, we're going to be using scrap to make the prototype. I've grabbed out a couple of, partial skeins here. I have good news and bad news about my scrap bag over there. Good news is that it has been reduced pretty significantly, which is great because I'm trying to make my way through my yarn stash. But bad news, I have less and less yarn to use for making prototypes. Turns out it's a very fine line with the scrap bag. I don't want to get rid of it entirely, but I don't want too much either. We're going to start off with the head. Now, with the head, in the original or the Yarnivore, there is a bit of subtle shaping going on. You can see the head sort of curves out here in order to create the cheeks / jaw area. With the wolf, I don't want that. I'm just going to crochet like a nice spherical head, and depending on how like the features work later, I may end up crocheting a bit of a muzzle piece too. But we're going to start off with the basic sphere. So we have our head. I might crochet a separate muzzle piece, but the way I like to do my patterns is to get all the big body pieces out of the way first, and then I can sort of proportion the smaller pieces to those. So if I do crochet a muzzle, it's going to be later. But despite what I just said, I'm kind of a bit undecided what I want to crochet next, because normally my next step would be to crochet the body, but like looking at the image of Red Wolf, she's got this, what would you call it? A small mane, an Eevee collar of like fur around her neck. And I've got two choices really. I can crochet just a body piece and then create the fur collar off that, or I could crochet a separate piece, like a small disc shaped piece, to go between the head and body and use that to create the fur collar. Because if I did that second option, that would also like bulk out the fur a little bit. I know if I went with the second option, it could potentially work because I've done that before in other patterns. I just don't know if it's the best call here, because it's not like the fur protrudes a great deal. So perhaps I will go with the first option. We'll just crochet a body piece and then any fur can be sort of crocheted directly off of that. Decision made. Now I've actually got to stick to it and not change things up halfway through. Not that I would ever do anything like that. And I think I better grab myself out some more scrap before I start crocheting the body piece, because this is all that remains of that yellow skein. My first impulse is to go, that body is too long, but I did that kind of deliberately because I did want to allow for space for that fur collar. So I think I just have to put my like initial reaction aside for now and wait until I finished all the other pieces and added that fur collar. Yeah, because to me, it just, like, at this point, it looks too elongated. But hopefully, if I've done it correctly, it'll work out fine once all the... I should have known that was going to happen. What was I saying before I so rudely interrupted myself? Yeah, I think it'll be fine once everything else is crocheted. Speaking of which, the next piece I'm going to do... it's probably... I'll probably do the legs. Now, the front legs... are fairly straightforward, but the hind legs, it's more just the thigh section and it protrudes from the side of the body like so. So again, I'm kind of debating myself what is the best way to go about this. Do I make a circular piece and sew it to the side, so like in a circle, sort of like that, and add stuffing into that to bulk it up? Or do I crochet it like top down and then sew the side of that piece to the side of the body? It's more difficult than it should be because I can see like use case scenarios for both of those pieces. But I think given that the thighs, they tend to extend out quite a bit, I'm probably better off going with that, like the second method there, because just crocheting a flat circle piece might not end up bulky enough even with the addition of the stuffing. So to eliminate the risk of having to crochet the piece a second time, I think I'm just going to go with like the top-down version of the leg. Now, I do want the bottom of each paw to be red. So that is where this orange yarn is going to come into play. We're substituting that for the red in the prototype. While the front legs are done, I do have some thoughts. I don't know if I'm entirely happy with them at the moment, but I want to crochet the hind legs, not the front legs, I just did the front legs, the hind legs first, and then we can discuss. Well, I think my thighs are looking pretty good. I hope that doesn't get taken out of context, but what concerns me the most is sort of the front legs. I was umming and ahhing about how to finish them off, but in the end, I kind of thought I'm putting the fur collar on anyway, which is going to cover up at least a portion of the front legs. So I don't think it matters too much in this case. And also it is going to look a little bit neater once I, sew these down anyway. So yeah, hopefully that's not going to cause me too many problems. One thing I could have done, and honestly I would have liked to do, is to shape the body piece so that it curves out at the top here, so I could crochet the leg pieces into the body, so sort of make those three pieces no sew. But the issue with that is it does take time and experimentation, and time is a rare, precious resource at the moment, and I just don't have enough of it. I'm going to be struggling to get all these presents crocheted anyway, so I sort of went with the quickest option here today. But that doesn't mean in the future I can't, revisit this, give it a bit of TLC and update it. But now that my legs are mostly finished, or as finished as they're going to be at the moment, I'm going to crochet the last large piece, which is the tail. And if I just check my reference image, and yeah, there is some color change work in this too, but it's a little bit more complicated than the paws because I want to get a sort of jagged shape. What is the word for that? I know there's a word for it. I can't think of it at the moment. I'll either think of it later or one of you will correct me in the comments. But that's going to frustrate me until I remember it. That'll be one of those things that'll just pop into my head randomly at 4 AM. And finally, we have ourselves a tail. I grab my barely held together amigurumi here. That should go somewhere around this position here. The next step was going to be to crochet all the small detail pieces, the ears, the muzzle, possibly even some of the little like flares off the side of the tail. I'll put a picture up here so you know what I'm talking about. Just little things like that. However, I am running out of crochet juice for today. Maybe that should be my request to Santa for this year, some extra crochet juice. But also B, I do need to change the size of the head. Comparing the head here to what the image shows, this is a little bit small. Now the second lot of yellow yarn that I had to bring in is a little bit of a thicker 8-ply than what I used originally in the head. But even so, I don't think that's quite enough to, account for like the size disparity. So I am going to adjust that when I crochet the final piece. And because of those couple of factors, I just don't think it's worth crocheting the additional pieces at the moment. I'm like confident enough to do those without having a prototype first. They're just smaller pieces, and even if I bugger them up, it's, fairly quick to frog them and recrochet them. So no big deal there. It's mainly the larger pieces that I like to work on in my prototype because that helps me get like the shaping down. And I think for the most part, with the exception of the head and possibly the front legs, might need to tweak those a bit, I think I've achieved that. So the last thing I will be doing today is just assembling this. I do want to sew it all together. Although, do I really need to? I'm not sure that I do. We might call it quits for today. So that is what we've achieved so far. I know it really doesn't look like much now, but hopefully when I come back tomorrow and start crocheting, I'll pick that up in a second. I want to start crocheting with the proper yarn that I've got for this project. Everything will just come together. So much to my chagrin, we are going to be crocheting virtually all the Christmas presents in this series that I'm doing with the Parfait Premier Chunky, no, that's the wrong way, Premier Parfait Chunky yarn. This is what I've got left in my personal stash of that. I've actually managed to use quite a bit of it up, but because I'm making all these Christmas presents, I had to go out and purchase a bunch more. If you've been on the channel for a while, you will know that I don't particularly enjoy working with this stuff, but unfortunately, the people in my life who I'm making these Christmas presents for absolutely love plushies made from it. So I'm going to be putting myself through that torture for a little bit, but I was really fortunate that the colors that I had left over, so I got these, perfectly match the Red Wolf design that I'm making here today. So let's start off with we'll do all the main parts I should say the main color, that's what I'm calling the white. We'll start off with that. And I did yesterday, where's the end? And yesterday, after I sort of finished my crocheting, I did go ahead and tweak the pattern a little bit. I know I mentioned that I wanted to change up the head pattern, so I've done that a little bit. What else did I do? There was something else I did. I don't remember what it was. I mean, I have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast this morning, let alone what happened yesterday. So I think it was something with the front legs. I think I changed the width of the leg itself by 1 stitch. For all the difference that's probably going to make. Okay. All right. So I am going to get all the pieces that I've already created patterns for. I'm going to get them crocheted up. And once that's done, and possibly I might even assemble them too, I'm then going to crochet the additional pieces that I need that I didn't get around to yesterday. So that was like the ears, the muzzle, the eyes, and anything else that I want to add to the red wolf. All right, I made it, finally. This has felt like it has taken all day. Well, probably because it has. It's been a bit of a tumultuous one, but I finally got all the pieces crocheted up, which means the next step is going to be to put them together and definitely add a little bit more stuffing to some of them. It's kind of underwhelming if I leave it like that. I was kind of concerned that the tail might cause like some balance issues, but so far so good. But even if this thing is sitting upright, unassisted at the moment, I still do think that adding like a muzzle piece at the front might just help like counterbalance it a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and crochet that up, as well as the ears, the eyes, and I think that's all the pieces I need to crochet. I closed down the image that I had before, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I need to crochet. All the other detail pieces I'll add by either embroidery, cutting felt, or in the case of the fur collar, I need to do attaching yarn and then brushing that out, which from past experience is probably going to take me a while to do, and I'm a little bit worried that I'm not going to be able to finish this in time before the video actually has to go out. I'll do my best, but if this thing is unfinished at the end of the video, you know why. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to call this one here. This video is supposed to go out in a couple of hours, and I haven't even started editing yet. On top of that, I got my niece's end of year Christmas concert that I'm going to as well. So that's going to eat into my time even more. But look, it's mostly finished. All I really need to do is glue down the facial details and add the fur collar. I've achieved pretty much what I set out to do. There's just a couple of minor things that I got to get around to finishing. All in all, I'm mostly happy with how this design has turned out. Look, I already mentioned that I would have preferred to crochet the legs into the body. If you take a good look at those, if that shows up, like I just don't like how the shaping has worked out, sewing like this open-ended piece to the body. It would look much nicer if I had shaped the body correctly and then crocheted the legs into those. But I ran into the time issue again. But that doesn't mean I can't, come back to this at a later date and fix that. I like the face, but I also, I wouldn't go so far as to say I dislike it, but it's not quite what I was hoping for. But to be honest, I think that is just a product of taking a like flat 2D image and trying to convert it into 3D. There's just some compromises you have to make there. So it's not bad. I don't know, it's different. We'll say that it's just different. And I know I had the same issue when I made my Yarnivore here, taking again that 2D image, converting it into 3D. You're just gonna have to change some things. That's just the reality of it. But all in all, Wolf worked out kind of well, and I do think my sister is going to like it. I'm going to talk quietly because she's actually home at the moment, so I've got to hide it as well. I'll put it down here and then I'll wait till she's gone to finish it off entirely. So yeah, that is one present down. Wolf done. What is not yet done though is... And today's featured creator on the hookup is Mumma Stitches, and she says, I am a mama of 2 little ones who found a love of crochet and never looked back. I currently make stitch markers, felt eyes, crochet hooks, and of course, plushies. Of course, plushies. That's, whoa, don't fall down, don't fall down. Here I was bragging before about how the balancing was pretty good and it keeps falling down on me. Don't do that, don't do that. But yes, if you would like to check out all of the Mumma Stitches links, they will be down in the description, and so will link to the hookup form if you would like to apply for yourself. Thank you all for watching this one. We're going to continue on with this series next week with the second present that I'm making. I'm not entirely sure what order the videos are going to be in yet. It really just depends what I get finished first or what is realistic to get finished first. So I will see you in the next one with present number 2, and hopefully I will be able to show you the completed red wolf here. So yes, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.